Hello and welcome everybody to the first episode of Lights Out F1. My name is Josh from Demo One Garage, and we have the Doctor from the Friday Night League with us. How are you going today, Doctor?
How are you guys? I'm great, Josh. How's your day been today?
Well, it's been good. We should probably get it out there early on that this is technically the second episode.
We're telling them, are we?
Yeah, I think we will. And it is technically the second. We did this episode last night. I think we did about 90 minutes. And once everything was done, I opened the file. I never recorded my voice. So here we are on day 2.
And by the way, you know what my wife said, don't you?
No.
She said, he's the professional.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. That's what I like. No, it was so embarrassing. But anyway,
what do we say? Shit happens.
It does. But yeah, like I say, welcome to the third best F1 podcast now available on cassette. So we've got a few things to get through. We've got the Melbourne F1 coming up on the weekend. It's only a couple of days away. And we've got the Formula One Fantasy. We've got the eSports stuff happening, especially in the F1 world. And there's some big movers and shakers happening within GT Sport. But I thought it would be good to sort of go over what we plan to do with the podcast because we are so new. Maybe you can give us give the listener out there an insight on to what it is we want to do with this.
Well, Josh and I have been talking behind the scenes for a while now about doing something like this. We're both passionate F1 fans, and obviously most of you listeners would be as well. We both have a love for sim racing, and Josh is our commentator and streamer on my FNL1 eSports League, which is a Formula One league that we run.
And
so we thought
it's really good racing, by the way. If you've never really given eSports a chance, I recommend I'd just give it a go. Give at least, what do you reckon the best one is at the moment? Monza or...
the Hungary
race.
Was good. Hungary was good. I
Yes.
wasn't at that race. That's when I was in Queensland and watched the whole stream, and that was a good race.
Yeah, Hungary's season 2 it was, so go check that out. But
we've just done round 1 of season 3 now, so that was in Singapore. We've broken the actual F1 calendar, the whole 21 race calendar, into 3 pieces, if you like, so into thirds, and we're up to the last third now. So we're having the run from Singapore to Abu Dhabi in season 3 now.
Yeah. So, but at the end of each season, you get a different champion, so to speak. So, makes it a bit interesting, and it gives the drivers a bit of a break as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have three mini champions, if you like, and then we'll have an overall champion of the 21 race. So that's what we do in the Friday night F1 league.
Yeah, FNL1, and then we've got this new podcast, which I think the plan is to get an episode done after every Grand Prix. This one's a bit different because we're new. We wanted to sort of cover the teams and our predictions for the first race, being our home race. But yeah, the plan will be from here on in. After each Grand Prix weekend, there should be one up on the Thursday. So
that is the plan. So
yeah.
We'll hopefully have it out there where we'll do a review of the race that was on the weekend. We might talk about a bit of esports that's happening. We'll give you a wrap up on the FNL1 league and some GT sport racing, bit of the esports thrown in there, and then we'll be doing a prediction of the upcoming race and a preview, if you like.
Yeah, so that's what's going to be, and then there's going to probably be you guys asking questions. There's going to be the F1 fantasy. There's going to be our opinions on things. We're not going to break news. That's not what we're here to do. But
that's right. There's plenty of them around.
If you want to hear what 2 random blokes think, then this is the place for you. You just got to trust us. It's going to be good.
Well, I've got about 30 odd years of F1. What would you call it? Viewism.
Experience
under my belt. So
he's a veteran of the sport.
Giving away my age a little bit there, but yeah, my first vivid memory of F1 is Nigel Mansell blowing his tyre in Adelaide. That's when someone says to me, "What's your first memory of F1?" That is what comes to me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have memories of Adelaide. I was definitely around, but F1 for an Australian, it's such a hard thing to. It was well back then anyway. Before like we had the coverage we get now with the pay TV and Sky Sports, you had to find it in your TV guide, and then you had to make sure that you were up. And because I was young, obviously, I had to go to school, so I couldn't stay up late. Sometimes they didn't show the race live; they showed it delayed. You would have been maybe a little bit older, but working, and it was hard. So
It wasn't on the broadcast time, like it would say 10:30, but by the time Channel 9, at the time who had it, would cross over. Sometimes lap 1 was already done with, and they'd just cross into it, and you just go, oh, catch up. Okay, here it is.
And then the ads would go, and you'd miss something.
Oh, yes, the ads.
Oh, it was.
We are really spoiled now with
Totally.
Sky TV coverage on Foxtel. It's couldn't really ask for much more. They do a great job, I think. I mean, when you look on the Facebooks and social medias, there's a lot of people who whinge about the Sky coverage, but I think, especially being down here in Australia, we get a pretty good go of it.
Well, yeah, even though like the F1 TV Pro isn't available here, and I think that's due to contracts with Foxtel, which I don't know when that's going to end, but it should end maybe in a couple of years. Hopefully sooner. But yeah, like we get all the practice sessions, we get the qualifying sessions, and they're all uninterrupted. There's no ad breaks. And the racing as well. Plus, we don't get the press conferences. I wish we did. But there's still a lot
that's
of
all
sport
so easily
coverage.
available these days. Like to catch it on YouTube. F1 channel on YouTube's doing a great job, don't you think? Like that's one really good thing that Liberty has done since taking over from Bernie.
They've really opened the sport up to the social media side of things and posted. Well, I think they've already posted in the 12 months, 18 months that they've been in control, however long it's been. It might be a bit longer. But they've already posted more content that F1 did under Bernie. Like, easily. There's way more stuff out there now. The teams are allowed to live stream from the garages. They even broadcast, like, when they do the track racing, like, have a go on the track, sort of track days before the Grand Prix where they get celebrities out.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Like Bernie didn't want that stuff broadcast. Now they show that sort of stuff. Like I don't understand why he didn't want it out there, but apparently he didn't.
He wanted total control. It was, I mean, Bernie cops a lot of flack, but I mean, F1 is what it is today, thanks to Bernie, really. But I think in Bernie's time, Formula One management was a lot busier with YouTube trying to take down footage that, fans were putting up.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're actually getting some F1 footage put on there. It's pretty good.
Actually, one thing that's just come to mind, I've never ever asked you this, the new F1 logo. We're a little bit used to it now, but what do you think of it compared to the old one? Something I thought of.
It never really bothered me to change because, I mean, it was just like one of those things, it's like when a new manager comes into a new role, they always feel like they've got to put their stamp on something, so I didn't see a problem with it, and it wasn't really that far out there from the old one anyway. What I found funny was a lot of people came out with the new logo and said, oh, I never realized that old one had the one between the F and the one, like...
Yeah, used all that blank space to create a one. I can't believe a lot of people didn't realize that.
What I was most surprised at. I go, really?
Well, if you want surprising, go look at a Toblerone. There's a bear on it.
I've seen this.
In the logo. I didn't realize that until someone mentioned it to me once, like just recently. Yeah, definitely go check out your Toblerone. There's a bear in the mountain. It makes the snow-capped mountain. It's like there's a bear.
Well, I got to say, Toblerone is my favourite chocolate, but I can honestly say I've never sat there and studied the packet, so I really never knew that until I saw that on my Facebook feed one day.
Yeah, like I think that's how I found it out too. I was just like, what? Like, anyway, so there was a one in the old F1 logo. I don't know. I just think it looks like it's from the 70s, but I don't hate it. It just gives off
Oh,
that old like vibe for me for some reason.
okay. I'm looking at it now and just thinking, oh, it's. I think it does the job. It's
I
simple.
I don't think it looks modern. I think it looks retro. But I don't hate it. So yeah, that's just my opinion. But anyway,
Well, F1's been around for a long time, so maybe they're. Ah,
I don't know.
cut that bit out.
Things come and go. Things change. Like it's not GP2 or GP3 anymore. It's F1, F2, and F3, which I think was a good thing to do because it sort of now links them all three together. Yeah, I don't know what it was like looking in, but like GP2, GP3, you wouldn't have really thought that they're like the feeder leagues up towards Formula One. But yeah, that's just how it works.
Well, it is now, isn't it? That's we've got the Norrises and the Russells and even Albon. They're all the new. We've got quite a few newcomers this year.
Yeah, well, talking of drivers, we want to go over them quickly and give us our opinions for you. So I think we'll start with Williams because being down there at the back of the pack, it's obviously George Russell and Robert Kubica this year, and we all know it took them 2 days to get a car out on track and testing, so they're behind already at the start of the year.
And let's be honest, I really don't think there's much we can say here that already hasn't been said or read. It's just from the Williams that we all know, even if you're just a casual fan of F1, it's just so embarrassing where they find themselves at the moment. Like to think that, this is a team that was up there consistently in the top three, fighting with Ferrari, fighting with McLaren for so many world titles, and now they're basically fighting to stay in F1.
Yeah, it's actually weird to think that Bottas was with them just a few years ago, and now he's with Mercedes.
Yeah, right.
That actually blows my mind, considering. But anyway, But yeah, a lot of people, I think, since that new Netflix series has come out, have sort of put, or maybe shifted some of the blame towards Claire Williams. I don't know if that's fair or not, but it seems to be the way things are being reported.
Well, isn't it with most sporting teams, when the shit hits the fan, it's always the man at the top, or in this case, the lady at the top, who's got to shoulder the blame and sometimes fall on their sword. But in this case, she carries the name. So I guess the next best thing was Paddy Lowe. He was the scapegoat.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. And
I mean, I don't think he's officially off the books as yet, but I think
leave of absence, I think they put it.
Long gardening service, eh?
Yeah. He's he'd still be getting paid, wouldn't he? So he's pretty much on paid holiday.
Do you think he's making tea and coffee for Claire?
Probably not. He's probably on the phone trying to get a new job somewhere else, I'd say. Because I just don't know. I think Williams' days are numbered if they can't get a result soon.
I can't imagine Formula One without them, but it really is not looking good, is it? I mean, you look at the history of Formula One, there has been some very big names like the Brabhams and the Tyrrells, these were all just like Williams, and one day they were here and the next day were gone.
They were, but yeah, anyway, we're going to wait and see what happens with them, and it's only a couple of days away now a day. They start practice on Friday, so yeah, a day away, just over. So Kubica and Russell...
Sorry, I'm talking over you.
You're right. Yeah, Robert Kubica and George Russell. Kubica, again, I think he's overrated. I think you're a similar position to me.
Yeah, there's probably two bandwagons that I'm not a part of leading into this year's F1. And one is definitely the Kubica bandwagon. I fell off that train a while ago, and the other one is this Honda bandwagon that a lot of people are just thinking they're miraculously going to be fighting at the top. I'm still yet to be convinced on that one as well, but we'll get to that when we come up there. But with Kubica, I think Williams just, again, they missed the ball last year when all the hype was around with Kubica. They had the perfect opportunity to chuck him in the car. They knew that their car was not up to standard.
Yeah.
They could have taken full advantage of the fairy tale story of Kubica, if you like, and
probably would have even brought more sponsorships in too.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking. They could have milked it for all it's worth, but they went ahead with Sirotkin, and we all know what happened there.
Stroll.
And now, and now this year they've thrown Kubica in there, and I'm kind of like, I'm over this.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
It's just been simmering away too long for my liking.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, I think I don't know. Like, I just like the guy's good, but I think you mentioned it last night. He's sort of past his prime, so to speak. But
Well, he himself has said after testing that he's 20% ready coming into Melbourne, and I find that astonishing.
Yeah.
He's probably the bloke on the grid who needs the seat time more than anybody.
20% is disgusting, to be honest.
That's his own estimate. So
Yeah.
let's see how he fares at the end of the race on Sunday, if the car lasts the whole
race
distance. Yeah.
That's if they can get it out on the pit straight to get started. You know, it might even not even be able to. They might be pushing it back into the pit lane as everyone's doing the warm up lap.
Oh. Well, that's well, I really don't have much more to say on Kubica. I don't know if he's going to make it to the end of the year, to be honest, because it's hard enough going to be to prove yourself in such a crap car, and are his sponsors going to keep pouring the money in for not much result? I don't know.
Yeah, time will tell. Time will tell.
And in the other seat, we've got Russell, who's a young gun.
Yep. I don't know
too much about him.
Yeah, neither do I. I'm going to be honest. I saw him in the paddock a few times last year, but I don't really know much about him. I'm pretty sure I've seen him drive in F2, but I couldn't sit here and go, I like his abilities, or he's good at this, or he's good at that. So he's an unknown for me.
Yeah, well, I've read that he's actually coming into F1 with better credentials than what Lewis Hamilton had at the same time when he was coming into Formula One. Now, if that is fact, that's a pretty good, resume to come into F1 with. It's just a bit unfortunate, the seat that he's got.
Yeah, well, Hamilton had McLaren, and
Verstappen had Red Bull.
Yeah.
But then again, when you think back to Webber and Alonso, they were in Minardis who proved themselves. I remember finishing 5th in Australia.
Yeah, that's true.
Minardi.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's a matter of he's got to take his opportunities when they're there this year just to really prove himself. And who knows what will happen next year, I guess.
Yeah, well, maybe he'll be around. Maybe he'll be looking for a new seat. It's because maybe Williams won't be there anymore. So that's to come. Now, the next one on the grid is McLaren. They've got Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz, who I think sort of lost out this year. Sort of his only it was his only seat that he could go up to after all the shuffling that happened at the end of last year.
Maybe it's a good time for him to go there. Maybe the curse of Alonso has left with him out of McLaren.
Yeah, well, they've replaced a Spaniard with another Spaniard. So, I mean, I don't know if that means anything.
We all know, obviously, that times mean nothing in testing, but every day they were up there in the top 2 or 3 with the times McLaren were setting. But aside from that, the most impressive part of it all is how reliable they've been this year compared to their previous pre-season testings in the last 5 years.
Oh yeah, they used to have some shocking days at testing. Shocking.
Like, they've just got some really good running. So I just feel like they've got a real good base to work from leading into this year compared to all the previous, 4 or 5 years leading into the first race.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I think Carlos Sainz will do pretty good. They obviously, who's their engine supplier this year? I keep forgetting.
Renault.
It is Renault.
Yes.
I don't know. I think they'll. Well, from what I heard from that Netflix thing, Renault obviously don't. Well, this is what Horner said. They don't really talk to the team about how they can fit it into their chassis as a customer. So McLaren would have to work around what Renault give them. But that might be a blessing in disguise. I don't know. But I think having the Renault engine is probably going to hopefully have a little bit more reliability.
Well, you compare the two Renault engines last year, and
I know they weren't great, but the
no, I
Honda
mean
wasn't
the
any better.
reliability compared to the Renault in the McLaren and the Renault in the Renault compared to the Red Bull was the one who suffered the most, and that's down to how far they're pushing it. And
But yeah, that's true because I know Red Bull were given like this C option, which was like a faster mode, but Renault were like, it is not tested and we do not recommend it, but you can use
they
it.
didn't put it in their own car.
Yeah,
But
because they didn't.
yeah,
They were like, it's going to break the engine, and I more often than not, Red Bull were using that extra mode. So a lot of the complaints I think Red Bull had towards the end of their relationship with Renault was probably coming from somewhere else, because I think Red Bull just wanted an excuse to blame someone.
after watching that Netflix series, which by the way, how awesome is it?
Great, it's fantastic.
If anyone hasn't heard about it, which you must be living under a rock, but well, it's time to crawl out and have a look at this series on Netflix. It's what's it called? Formula One Drive to Survive.
To Survive. Yep.
It's a great insight for F1 fans like ourselves. We probably want more. Like I know myself, I would love to see more of the technical side of things. Like I'd love to see the pre-race briefings, strategy meetings. I'd love to see the debrief after the race, like just be a fly on the wall. Like I'd love to just get really right in there more. But that's just me wanting more and more and more. But what they have given us, I think it's been fabulous.
Oh, it's access that we've never seen before. I mean, a lot of other motorsports would laugh at it but it's access that F1 fans have never been able to see before, which is what's so exciting, I think.
They've brought a real human element to F1, because I feel like the way Netflix's purpose is trying to get it out there to like more the casual F1 fan. So
it wasn't
obviously
the data and like the compounds. It was the drivers and their emotions and the relationships with the teams and everything that happens.
Well, that's right. They want to appeal to a much broader fan base, and I think they've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait to see because I think it's filming. They're filming already for the next season, which will come out next year.
I've heard that the camera's already on the ground filming for the next series, which is awesome.
I can't wait to see it.
And hopefully we get a bit more Ferrari and Mercedes involved with.
Oh, that was that was the biggest disappointment for sure. I don't know why they didn't, but whatever. Hopefully we get to see him next year.
It's just that they're too stuck up. That's the problem.
Yeah, you're probably right. We've got to finish quickly with Lando Norris. I think you mentioned it again last night. He's made a bit of a name for himself lately in the eSport or sim racing world, because he's been on iRacing, I think, with Max Verstappen doing like endurance 12-hour Bathurst. It was. Yeah. He's done a few other things here and there, but he's not. Again, I don't know. He's one that is a little bit like iffy. I don't know how he's going to perform. I don't know if he's up to the task.
I'm excited to see how he fares up this year. Just going back to the esport thing, I believe they've got a team like Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. I almost want to say Stroll might be part of their team as well, and I think it's Redline Racing or something on iRacing. I'd have to have a look it up for next time.
Oh, is that what it's called? I think you might be right, actually.
Something like that. If it's not exactly that, it's Redline Racing or Red something.
Right.
And they're really into doing some of the endurance races, as you mentioned, the Bathurst race and so forth. They were live streaming it, and I feel like there's a big changing of the guard happening in F1 at the moment. Do you get that? I mean, now we've had Alonso retiring and these basically kids coming into the sport.
Yeah, well, what do you call it? The Verstappen effect.
Yeah, Verstappen effect. I mean, people have seen that, well, look at Ferrari taking Leclerc. That's the
That's a big one.
second youngest driver ever to sign with Ferrari, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, second youngest. And, I mean, we've got, like, Russell's young, Lando's young. I know Gasly's only 23 this year. Stroll is 20 this year. The average age now is really falling.
And now with eSports really taking off too, a lot of these young guys in F1 are actually doing sim racing because there is no real testing on track that you can do. It's just not allowed anymore, not the old days.
Yeah, well, that's right. The best way for them to practice and hone their skills is through using. Well, basically, they just use the Formula One 2018 game at the moment. It's really funny to see when they're doing that because you're just like, I feel like there should be something a little bit more technical, but it's obviously so close to the real thing that they use it.
I used to actually think that. I used to think, no, they've got their own programs for sure. But people have been telling me, no, they just use the F1. I said, really?
I know. It just shows you how close that game must be to the real thing. I know it's not going to be a perfect 1-to-1, but it must be close.
Well, there's a lot of things happening on the Codemasters side of things too, which are the people who make F1 games, the F1 2018 series. They're the official licensed for the game, obviously, and they're the official eSports series.
Yeah.
They've just recently signed a deal with Motorsport Network.
Yep.
They're partners with Fnatic, which is, one of the most, if not the most popular, one of the most popular sim racing gear, like for steering wheels and pedals and so forth. So
definitely
they're really making
expensive.
Oh, there's a lot more expensive stuff, but yeah.
Oh, they have some very, very pricey.
I guess when we're talking about the direct drive stuff, yes.
Yeah. Yep.
But so what I'm saying is the Codemasters themselves, they're really partnering up here and looks like they're going all in with F1. So it just actually leaves me excited for what's to come in the upcoming releases, I guess.
Well, I hope so because the spectator options are terrible. There's no replay. We can't save the replay.
Don't start me on replays.
Because I broadcast the Friday Night League for you. There's so many things I don't have control of that I get with other titles. So that side of things, if they've gone the esports route now and want to support that, there's so much work they need to put into the back end of that.
Well, I think they're up to season 3 this year of the esports, so it's really taken off now.
Well, there must be input from the broadcasters there saying, this should be in the game for 2019. So I am excited to see what they do, but I don't know, Codemasters at the moment, I feel like they're sort of dropping the ball with certain things, but hopefully I'm proven wrong.
Well, I've said for a while now, just to wrap it up on Codemasters, that I've been feeling like they just need some real competition. But short of that, it just seems like I said, with all the partnerships they've been gathering now with F1 and Fnatic and Motorsport Network, which that's massive. I mean, they're the owners of Autosport, F1 Racing Magazine, got their own motorsport channel. So
yeah, they do a lot of publications too. So
they're obviously going very heavy on the esports side of things.
Yeah, and I even know the Le Mans series have now partnered with Forza. The FIA, they fully endorse the GT Sport Championships that they do. I know it's starting in Paris, I think this week, maybe next week, for 2019. So yeah, there's a lot of organizations now taking it on board and taking it really seriously.
Fernando Alonso's got his own esports team.
He sure does. So yeah. I think he took... Did he take that? He took someone. I can't remember. It was they were at Abu Dhabi that first year they ever did it.
He's got Jem. I can't remember his last name.
Can't either. And he
starts with a B. Jem.
Yeah, some skinny bloke.
He's a Turk actually that lives in Germany, and I can't remember his last name at the moment.
Yeah, but and like,
But
yeah,
he signed him,
yeah.
and then you've got Formula Danny. He's known online as in he won a race at no Enzo Benito it was. He won a race in the race of
Race of
champions.
Champions. Yeah, that was huge.
He came from eSports, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a massive part of the. It's sort of like sort of running in tandem to the real thing. It's interesting, and I can't wait to see where we go from here.
Well, we've taken ourselves on a real tangent there, but
That's all right. I think it's good to sort of mix up the driver profiles a little bit.
Good.
So we've done Williams and McLaren. We'll go to Alfa Romeo, which is Giovinazzi, and our favourite Kimi Räikkönen.
He is one of my favourites, and I think a lot of fans' favourites.
Oh, yeah.
The classic one-liner, man.
Oh, he'd be so hard to interview. Like, because I do some interviews at the end of some of the esports things, and it is so frustrating when I get a yes or a no, and that is it. But Kimi Räikkönen has perfected it. And it's
sometimes he does it on purpose.
I know.
You know he does. You could just see him smiling on the inside.
He's a funny bloke. He loves a drink too. And if you haven't seen him at the FIA Awards at the end of 2018, go and find it on YouTube. And Kimi Räikkönen drunk, it's a good laugh, a very good laugh.
I think that when Kimi Räikkönen retires from F1 eventually.
Do you think it's his last season?
Oh, I think he might do another one. He signed for 2.
True.
So I think you'll see that out. He's back at home now at Sauber. Well, Alfa Romeo this year.
Well, they're in Sweden, so he's a lot closer to home now.
I think it's a much smaller team, obviously, to Ferrari where he was. So I think he might be we might see a bit more of a reinvigorated Kimi this year because, as you know, he seems to go missing on on a lot of weekends.
Yeah, he does.
But having said that, I feel like he had one of his best seasons in recent years last year.
It was good, all but his qualifying performance, I feel. He always let himself down on that final lap of qualifying.
Like, I think without doubt he could have won 1 or 2 races last year, but for Ferrari just totally focusing on one car.
And yeah, you're right. Then there was the times where Ferrari were like, no, we're going to give Vettel the priority here, and Kimi Räikkönen was shoved to the back.
That's right. And then when Vettel threw it away, it was like, oh shit, we've got another car in the race, but it's too late.
Yeah, so I don't know how Alpha's going to treat the two. Like, are they going to treat them equally, or you think might give Kimi a little bit more of a boost in the rankings within the team? Because he's definitely going to help grow the team and try and build on it.
For sure, and he's got all the Ferrari knowledge. They've got the Ferrari engine, so
yeah.
I'm hoping for really big things for them this year. He's not going to win races, but I think he might steal a sneaky podium here or there. The old Kimi.
That'd be so good to see, and I hope he can do it too.
Well, he did it in the Lotus.
No, that's a good point. So yeah, he's definitely capable. I really hope we see something in Australia. I hope we see an attack straight away. We don't
leave me alone. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Wheel, give me the wheel. The wheel.
You just have a whole thing of just all his radio calls.
Oh, yeah. You can sit there on YouTube with all of his stuff, and you just go through hours of it. But Giovinazzi as well, I think we should quickly touch. I've seen him crash a lot, so I'm expecting him to be a Grosjean this year. So
really, you think that bad?
I don't know. Like, he just has a habit of. I didn't watch testing, so I don't think he did crash in testing. But I don't know. I think he might.
I think Gasly took the crown for the biggest crash in testing this year.
I didn't. Actually, I did see that. That was a big crash. I think Ricciardo's was pretty close to being huge as well.
Oh yeah, when his wing snapped, yeah.
Yeah, that was scary. Which sort of makes me think, is DRS a dangerous thing? Because, like, we've seen it, we saw it at Silverstone where it happened. It happened to, it was the Alpha last year, was in Monza during was it qualifying?
Oh, Ericsson.
Yeah, it happened there. And, like,
That was a big one.
This is the first time I'm starting to see DRS issues pop up more and more frequently. And I wonder if, like, they're just pushing the limit of what DRS can safely do, you know?
This is Formula One. Of course they're pushing the limits.
Obviously, but, like, I just wonder if, like, they've reached it. And I don't know if there's a way, if they will start dropping it back a little bit, or maybe there needs to be a change to I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but it's just something I've started to notice. We
can have a whole nother podcast just on DRS. I'm a purist, and I really am not a fan of DRS. Now, this year, I was going to talk about this later, but we're talking about DRS now. But they're saying that the DRS this year will be 25 to 30% more powerful than it was last year, purely just because the rear wing is wider and higher, and the opening it's gone up from 65 millimeters to 85 millimeters.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, the amount, like, air is heavy. Like, that is a lot of force acting on that back wing. And
that they're saying that's what contributed to Ricciardo's crash. So I think they've put some sort of a piston in the middle of the wing now, which acts as a stopper before it reaches that.
I know, like, Red Bull put two, like, struts that came out from the back wings, sort of just crossed over each other. But yeah, I'm just wondering if, like, the wings now are just, they've reached the limit of how fast DRS can assist like a car.
Well, I've never seen it demonstrated, but as you know, we've all heard these F1 cars at full pelt, they could drive upside down on the roof.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, and
I'd still love to see it one day.
Oh, so would I. But they lose a lot of drag because of the DRS, so the grip levels drop. So if your DRS hasn't then cut back in for a corner and you're expecting to have that grip, that's when a freaking huge accident's going to happen. And it almost did in Silverstone last year. So yeah,
who was that? Oh, that was when it was reconnecting before turn one.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of the Haas guys, or I think it might have been like Grosjean. I'm not 100% on that, but I just remember it happening, and then because that was like the first time I really noticed a DRS issue, and then I just kept seeing it again and again and again, and I'm just starting to see a pattern here. That's all. So yeah, anyway, that's just what I think about that. So yeah, Giovinazzi maybe. I know we go on a tangent a lot here, but I think maybe he might crash a bit too much, but I don't know.
Well, he did have that big crash at China when he
last
what
corner.
car was in a Toro Rosso, was it?
I think so, yeah. Or no, wasn't it the? Was it? I thought it was the Sauber.
Yeah, you might be right actually.
Because I remember it was the blue and gold livery, wasn't it?
Yeah, in the last corner he lost it at China, and that was his big chance to prove himself.
Yeah, and he stuffed it up. So anyway, he's got a seat now, so we'll see what he can do with it. I honestly don't know how he's going to perform. That's all.
Well, I got to say, this Alfa Romeo is my favourite livery of this year.
It is a good livery. It's a good red. I do like the red and the white.
I do. I love how that red and then the halo just blends in nicely.
I was just thinking, wouldn't it be great if I hadn't have hit record? No, I did. Just wanted to scare you a little bit.
Oh, jeez.
like if you've been listening since the start, technically the second episode, because I didn't record my microphone yesterday. So we've actually already talked about all this, and we're doing it all again. So anyway, the next team.
Well, this is Formula One. We'll just call last night FP1.
FP1, yeah. This will be FP2, and then we'll get into the Grand Prix on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not doing an FP3, Josh.
Yeah, fair enough. Denny Fiat and who's the other Toro Rosso driver? Alexander Albon. We're going to talk about Toro Rosso. Your favourite livery? Fiat's
What?
back in after being a test driver for Ferrari, and
What
Albon's
do you
up.
call him? Fiat.
Yeah, Denny Fiat. Isn't that how you say it? I know a
No.
lot of people say Kvyat, but I was fairly sure it was Denny Fiat.
Oh, that's the first time I've heard him referred to as an engine.
No, not.
I'm thinking, what are you calling him, a Fiat?
Denny, yeah, Fiat. That
Oh,
I thought that's how you said it.
okay, well, I'm going to continue calling him Kvyat.
Fair enough, because I was pretty sure when he first came in F1, Crofty kept calling him Kvyat, and then he said no, but I actually went and talked to him, and he said it's Fiat, and then
Yeah, but
for some reason Crofty went
calls
back
him
to
Leclerc.
Kvyat. Hey,
Crofty continues to call Leclerc, yet clearly in the Netflix,
it's Leclerc. I know.
he said it himself. I am Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, and again, that's another example where Crofty's gone, oh, it's Leclerc, so I'll call him Leclerc. But every Grand Prix since he said that, it's
Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, anyway, yeah. So anyway, let us know how you do say that. Is it my way or is it the doctor's way? I'd like to actually settle this argument. So yeah.
So
yeah.
if Kvyat, you're listening on the line, send us a message in, will you?
Actually, did he? Oh, he wouldn't have done one of those like lap previews where they say their name at the start. So that's how they do. Like last year, they had, "Hey, my
Because he
name's
wasn't there.
blah blah blah, and this is the Melbourne GP, and take us around the track on the F1 game."
Oh yeah, and I was
Yeah.
thinking on the Netflix thing, but he wasn't there. That's
No,
why
he
we
wasn't,
didn't.
was he?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
Toro
we'll
Rosso,
have-
two brand new drivers, you could sort of say, but a return for one.
Well, me personally, I'm glad Kvyat's back and he's getting his second go here. I feel like he was really harshly treated the first time when he got sacked.
Yep.
On a personal level, I'm thinking, why did he take it back like the same team? Like I'm thinking, I would love to have just given the finger, but this is F1, man. What are you going to do? You just got to...
Well, like the seats were so limited. There's only 20 spots, and I guess if you didn't get any other offers, you're gonna say yes, aren't you?
So I've got my fingers crossed for him. Hopefully he's got his head right.
I think he might do well. I really do.
I'm hoping he does. I mean, he's the number one driver there because he's got this Alexander Albon, which not too many people know much about. So he's the number one driver. So he's got to live up to it.
Yeah, and he's had some experience as well, so he knows what he's in for.
And he can be very fast too. When he keeps it clean, he can be fast. He knows how to race. It's just, I think I don't know if he loses his patience or if he's just, I don't know what, he's just the Russian blood in him.
Yeah, well, maybe he's grown up since all that happened. You never know. He's had some time to think. He was with Ferrari for a year, so. But yeah, I just have a feeling. I think he might do a lot better this season.
He's still only pretty young himself, isn't he? Like, is he like 24 or 25?
No, honestly, probably. I know he wasn't old when he started, so yeah, he's probably under 25.
He's 26.
Oh, there you go. So, just over it.
Alexander Albon is 23 years old, so he's actually quite a latecomer, isn't he?
Yeah, when you think about the rest of them. Well, Albon, he says he was actually beaten by Leclerc for the 2016 GP3 title. So, we know how quick Leclerc is, and he was beaten by him in the GP3 in 2016. And he comes from the F2 from last year. So, yeah, I did watch a bit of F2 last year, and I do remember seeing Albon drive around. But I think there's some quicker people out there, that's all. I think Fiat will have... I think he'll have an easy run for the first few Grand Prix at least.
Well, have we ever had a Thai driver in F1 before? Albon he's from England, but he's actually...
Yeah, he's from Thailand, isn't he?
Yeah. It's a very interesting mix, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a weird one. I don't know. So, yeah, Albon coming from Thailand, that's what I think. And Yeah, what about you? Just similar?
Pretty much, like I said to you, I'm just got hopes for Kvyat. I want him to prove himself. I mean, it, if he can have a really good year this year, I think he can be there for a few more years to come yet, you know. But if he starts crashing and getting up to his antics, I can see the helmet Marco, you know, see you later, Kvyat.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so that's Toro Rosso. Next one, Racing Point. Our favourite driver ever.
Mate, Stroll.
Yeah. And Perez. Stroll is probably... Do you reckon he'd be the most hated driver in F1? Like, fan-wise?
I really do. But I could be biased there because I just haven't warmed to the guy from day dot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for giving a young kid a go, but just his attitude has just sucked.
It does. I do you remember Monaco last year, 2018? I think the car wasn't performing. He was constantly on the radio, yelling back to his engineer, "Why am I out here? Why am I even racing? Rah, 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 rah." And then you contrast that to Daniel Ricciardo, who probably felt like his world was ending, but he just didn't give up. And like, yeah, Ricciardo is not a pay driver in the sense that Lance Stroll is purely there only because he brings in the money. And it just shows you just the attitudes of two very different people. And Stroll, as I do not like.
Well, he was definitely born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And I know people say you have to have talent to get to F1.
You don't.
Which is true to a certain extent.
You don't have to have a lot of talent.
When you've got a billionaire dad.
I mean, like, yeah, well, if you've got a billionaire dad, you want to become good at something, you're given all the good toys, you're given all, like, and I understand that coming into this world, it wasn't his choice to be born to a rich father, but I don't know, his attitude is something I just do not like, and you said the same thing.
Careful now, Josh, you're going to start me on a Stroll rant.
Oh, I'll probably trigger warning, everybody.
I've had so many arguments over him, so many debates. It's like people always fall back on, but you don't just win championships in the junior leagues, you know, if you've got no talent. But when those people saying that don't actually look at the facts, in the year when he won his F2 championship, a third of the field from the previous year actually withdrew from the championship because they knew there was no point in fighting against the Stroll juggernaut.
Yeah, right. I didn't realize that. That's interesting.
His race engineer in that season when he won the F2 championship was way overqualified for that series, but his dad paid the money to get him there.
Oh, right. I see. So, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
he hired him drivers as teammates there to not just be a teammate like in racing together, they were there to help him win.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm on your side there. I get it.
It's just anyway. So now we've got him. Is he the number one driver at Racing Point?
Well, his dad owns the team, so I'm going to assume yes. He's a lot younger than Perez. He's what? I think Lance Stroll's 20. So I don't know if Perez is going to like that, but Perez himself is a driver that can bring money to Racing Point with the sponsorships and stuff. But I mean, he does. Sergio Perez has proven he has ability, which is different to Stroll.
Given the car, you know that Perez can get it to the end, and if it's a podium on the table there, he'll get it on there. He's proven himself to do that.
Yeah.
My worry is he going to be given that opportunity this year?
I hope so, because, well, Perez, we saw him with Ocon last season at Singapore when the man's mind just snaps and he gets angry, he takes it out on everybody. So maybe we'll see him dishing it out on Lance Stroll on track, but that's not going to last long, I don't think, if it was to happen. Only because his dad is the boss.
Well, it's definitely interesting viewing because it's gonna. What if Stroll comes out and just blows Perez out of the water? Hey, I'll be
Well,
the first one to
well, then I'll
say
be like, well, I'll take everything I said about him back, and he actually does have the ability to be up there.
that on
But
the other side of the scale, if Perez comes out and he's like constantly half a second faster than Stroll, do you think his dad would replace Stroll? I can't see that happening either, so I don't know.
and who gets the new parts first as well? That's the other question.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, if
Yeah.
they've got one new front wing, do they give it to Stroll to go and put it in the wall, or do they give it to Perez?
Yeah, I really can't wait to see how this story plays out. But
And I really hate the name.
what Racing Point?
Yeah, I really hate that. They should have. You'd think they could have come up with something a lot more inventive than Racing Point.
Yeah, it's like I don't think it's a brand or anything, is it? Because their main sponsor is BWT. They've kept the pink livery, which apparently your daughter likes.
Yeah, like I was telling you yesterday, my youngest daughter, she's now a full-blown F1 fan as of last year when we went to Melbourne Grand Prix. She is a Lewis Hamilton fan, much to my dislike. But hey, she likes F1. She sits down and watches the qualies with me, so I can't complain. And she's got a soft spot for Bottas, so she's a Mercedes fan. And she likes Force India because they're pink.
Well, it just goes, yeah, it goes hand in hand. But I like it how she likes. I like it how you said she's got a soft spot for Bottas. Bottas is like the nicest driver on track always.
That's exactly what she always says. She goes, he's just nice.
Yeah, he just has that air about him, and he drives that way too. But
which is probably why he will never ever become world champion, because he's just nice.
Yeah, he is. He's just too nice.
Well, like, Ricciardo's nice, but he's got a killer instinct in him. We have never seen that in Bottas yet.
No, we really haven't. Like, I haven't seen Bottas get angry or get passionate or just lose it. I've seen Ricciardo do that, but yeah, I've not seen Bottas do it. It's always been quite cool, calm, and collected.
Well, you know the old saying, nice guys never win.
Yeah.
And that just rings true in F1 100%.
Totally. You need a bit of nasty, I think. And we've seen that through the years with other world champions.
It was probably Webber's biggest downfall. He was just too nice.
Yeah. Webber, Webber, I reckon, should have been close to, or maybe should have won a world championship at some point. But
I think he should have had one, but he just wasn't enough of a prick to take it.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I mean, he's had plenty of success with Porsche when he went over with them, so it's just sucks that he didn't do it in F1. But anyway, I really liked Webber. I used to follow him at Jaguar and everything. I've still got the Jaguar like F1 car model. I love the bloke.
I like him too.
Well, that's Racing Point. We can do Haas, which is unchanged. Kevin Magnussen and Roman Grosjean, which is a surprising one for 2019, especially if you've been watching F1 for a few years.
How do you like their livery?
I don't know. Like, for an energy drinks company, it's a bit bland because what's the rich energy or something? Is it called?
That's what they're called, yeah.
Yeah, black and gold. I don't know. It's okay.
I've never seen a rich energy drink in the servos yet.
Well, I don't think anyone ever has, because I think it's a UK brand, and I don't even think there's people in the UK that have ever seen it. So it's just this mysterious energy drink that doesn't exist. But I don't know. Just prove me wrong. Maybe it's sold somewhere that it's just a weird one to me. That's all.
It is weird.
But yeah, Grosjean likes to crash, and he likes to crash a lot. And Gunter must have a lot of patience for Grosjean. He's in his 30s now. He's 33, I think, this year. So he's one of the older ones, and he he doesn't have a lot of time left to prove himself. I think he's really past that expiry. He's on very thin ice at the moment, I'd say.
Mr. Romine, my brakes don't work, Grosjean.
Oh, yep.
How boring did that get in the first half of last year?
And
the odd thing was we never heard a peep out of Magnussen. He just got on with the job. Same car, same brakes.
Yep.
But didn't they at one point even change Grosjean's brakes because he was complaining about them so much?
Pretty sure. And actually, now that you mention that, I remember when it was at Paul Ricard and we're watching the Netflix series, and he was complaining that the likes of Bottas and Sainz in the Toro Rosso were
pushing him off the track,
yeah. And he was sitting there whinging and whinging and whinging. And Gunter's like, he just said under his breath, "Tell him to stop whinging and just get on with the job." And it's so true.
That Gunter has got my admiration after watching that Netflix series. Like,
I love it.
I still can't believe how Grosjean kept his seat. Gunter has so much patience, man. So much more patience than I ever have.
Like, I wouldn't have signed the guy for 2019. He's a quick guy, but like Gunter said, he tries to go faster and he's continuously hitting that edge and going past it. And that's the difference between the fastest drivers, where they find that edge and they just play with it enough that they're within control. But Grosjean is always it's too much.
He's got really good one-lap pace because if you notice, especially towards the end of last year, he made a lot of Q3 appearances.
A lot, yeah.
And which might have been what, saved his ass. But he
didn't get the points for ages. Like,
his racing now is just lacking.
Yeah, he was just making mistakes after mistakes, and I know he's only human, so that must have been playing with his mental game as well, and I can't imagine what that was like, because he wants to succeed. He doesn't want to crash out every race, but that's what he was doing.
Well, in this American team, I'm Team Magnussen.
Yep, I'm always with Magnussen as well. He puts his head down, gets the job done, and you never know. We could be seeing Magnussen in maybe a Red Bull or Mercedes in a few years.
Kevin, suck my balls, Magnussen.
Suck my balls.
No, I don't know if he really needs to go anywhere because I don't know if he's world champion material, but I think he can just really make this his team if he can go to that next level this year.
Yeah, well, that's a good point as well. For a midfield team like Haas, I think Kevin Magnussen is a good driver to have.
I think so. I think he's solid. He doesn't whinge. He can be fast. He can put his elbows out. We all know that.
Oh, yeah. Well, just ask Hlkenberg. Which is the next team, Renault. It's Nico Hlkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo, the big shock for a lot of people, moving from Red Bull to Renault. And
I think we all thought he was just going to end up staying at Red Bull, didn't we?
Well, yeah, Christian Horner was convinced he was, and found out last minute that he'd taken a different offer. But I think it was the right thing for him.
100%, especially after watching the Netflix series.
Oh, yeah. That shone a light on so much. Like, such an insight as to why he decided to do what he did.
If you asked me 6 months ago, hey, Oz, what do I most likely answered you and said, oh, look, I'm 50-50 on him. He has his days. Sometimes he can whinge a bit too much, but overall, he's pretty good. Something like that,
Yeah.
But now, if you ask me that question today, I'll tell you he's a prick. He's just a two-faced, slimy. I wanted to throttle him watching that series because he's just, especially that scene when he was
talking to Daniel's dad.
At Monaco, talking to Daniel's dad. Yeah. You can just tell he's just one of these blokes who will tell you anything to your face that he thinks you want to hear, and then he'll go over there and say something completely different. No. Because all this crap he's been going on about, Ricciardo's running away from a fight from Verstappen, and
that's so bull. So bull.
I think the insights that we saw in that series just proved that Daniel had to get out of that environment. It just would have been toxic for him to stay there.
Well, the fact that once he made that decision, he was then isolated from debriefs and all sort of stuff for the rest of the season, I think is just disgusting.
Yeah, so basically the last third of the season, Daniel wasn't allowed to go into team briefings and strategy meetings, and he was just like, okay, get in the car, drive it, go to your room, basically.
Like, yeah, that's like, and he even said in that documentary, he's like, I know I'm going to be isolated for the rest of the season, but it's just something I'm going to have to do to come to terms with.
That's right.
Yeah, and for a team that wants to keep somebody, they then treated him like crap once he'd decided to go elsewhere. So, yeah, Verstappen was, I think, clearly given the favoritism there, and there was probably something else happening behind the scenes that we're still not privy to at the moment. But I think in a few years it'll come out for sure.
It has to. And I mean, at the end of the day, as much as these guys always say in any sport, not just F1, oh, it's not about the money. But it really is. At the end of the day, it is about the money.
Yeah.
Like, they're not just doing this, getting up and doing it for free. Like, they're making a living out of this. So it is about the money, no matter how much they want to deny it. And
well, to
a certain extent, for example, if they've paid Verstappen $25 million, here's Ricciardo on a measly $5 million.
Yeah, what does that say?
So even if they're not going to offer him the $25 million, they should have at least offered him, I feel like, something very substantial just to show the respect for him. But if they're turning around and saying, oh, look, we'll give you $10 million because that's all we've got, it's kind of like saying, well, we don't really think you're good enough.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And like, perfect example is my first job. Not my first job, but like my first full-time job. I was, 18, just doing my TAFE stuff for IT, and I worked for I was doing the IT tech support, and then I found out that the receptionists were getting paid more than me, and like, no disrespect, but like, I was like, I do a lot of work, and a lot of the work I do is like quite like, it was very important to keep everything running, like the money coming in, like the x-rays and everything working, the doctors getting all their reports. And I was like, how is my work worth less than a receptionist? And it's just when you find out that somebody similar to you is getting paid more, then you just feel worthless.
That's my point there. Yeah. It's just a sign of respect more than anything.
Exactly. So I can understand why Daniel decided to do what he did, because clearly Red Bull weren't showing the faith or the respect that I think he deserves.
And I think Renault are really on the up. I think, is this their fourth year in now? They've had 3 years.
I think it
of let's call it rebuilding. Yeah, since they bought Lotus.
Yeah.
So I think Daniel has taken a gamble, but our man Dan, I think he's made the right move.
And Hlkenberg with him. Hlkenberg is he going to be the wingman, or do you reckon?
I think he's the perfect wingman. Mr. I'm the most unluckiest guy alive. I mean, I've said it plenty of times before. I mean, after a million races in F1 and you still haven't made a podium and you keep saying, oh, he's the most unluckiest guy out there, it's just not true, because you got to have luck go your way at least once. You got to make your own luck.
Well,
if a guy like Maldonado can win a race, how can Hlkenberg not finish third?
That's true. Well, at least he was beating Jolyon Palmer when he was around. So there's that.
I forgot there was a guy called Jolyon Palmer in F1, Jolyon Palmer.
Yeah, one year he had. I liked the guy, but I don't know what happened with him that year. But yeah, like with Nico alongside Daniel, I don't know. Like, I always think there might be friction, but you're right. Nico's probably going to make Daniel look even better, probably.
Well, there is the chance that Nico could be faster, but I very much doubt it. I think Ricciardo should have his measure.
Yeah,
I think,
I have to agree.
maybe Nico could be Ricciardo's perfect Barrichello.
Oh, you never know. That'd be a marriage made in heaven.
Ricciardo's Bottas.
That's Renault. So, Red Bull, we're getting up to the top teams. We've got Gasly and obviously Max Verstappen, number 33. He's going to be... Red Bull always say that they treat each driver equally, but I don't think that's the case. I think Verstappen will be their top dog.
It just goes without saying. They can admit it or not admit it.
Well,
He's the number one there.
Just $100 at some point when Horner's talking to the Sky team, he'll mention, at Red Bull, we treat each driver with the same, 50-50 at Red Bull. There's no number one driver here. But I just need a big red button that just says bullshit. Because
I just hope when we get to Monaco, which is Red Bull's track,
Monaco.
And then
what?
It's just the way I've always said it, and I'm trying to say Monaco.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
It's just like Canberra.
Oh, Brisbane.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, when Red Bull gets to Monaco and Verstappen crashes in his corner, where it's 2 years in a row he's done it on the same corner, and then Gasly puts it in the wall too, and then all of a sudden Red Bull are out in Q3, both cars, and then they're saying, "Where is Dan now?"
Yeah. Oh, good. That's... Yeah, because they don't really have an older driver, do they? Because they're both quite young.
Well, it's only Gasly's second year in F1.
Yeah, that's a good point. So he's up in the top team.
Yep.
And he's driving for you'd say at least the third place team, based off what we've seen last year. So he's definitely in for a chance. Well, he's got the car that can put him on the podium each race at least.
And he's young. He's going to be a hothead up against a hothead in Verstappen. So I can only see fireworks in this team.
There's no level-headed sort of... Yeah, I get what you're trying to say. There's no redundancy when Max Verstappen crashes into that Ferrari going through the hairpin,
How many times was Gasly and Hartley fighting over the radio last year?
Oh, like all the time?
Yeah, so let's see what happens this year.
I totally forgot. Hartley's gone.
He's gone.
I liked Hartley. He
actually was very unlucky last year.
Oh man, I think a lot of the crashes, it was people hitting him. It wasn't that he was causing them. I mean, he might have caused one or two, but I'm fairly confident if I go back over them, he was just a passenger for a lot.
But again, it's the Hulk syndrome. He should have at least one highlight race where he did a Gasly, in Bahrain, wasn't it, when he finished fourth?
Yeah, that's true.
He just never really cracked it. He just needed to crack it at least once, and he might have saved himself.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what happens in this sport. It's quite cruel. So.
And what do you think of the Honda engine?
I don't know what to think. I know that...
Are you on the bandwagon?
No, I don't think it's the answer that they're looking for, and I don't think it's just going to be, this amazing thing that, is going to turn Red Bull around to being a world championship team in 2019. But I mean, they've seen what it's like at Toro Rosso. They've been able to probably develop it with Honda coming into 2019, so they've probably had a lot of say, I'd imagine. But reliability is going to be that key word, I think, this year for the Honda.
Well, they've proven very reliable in pre-season testing. They seem to have, come a long way from where they were in the back of the Mclaren. And me being a long-term suffering McLaren fan, it was really hard to take with that Honda in the back of the engine. So
Well,
it's gonna take a lot more than just Christian Horner telling me, "Oh, it's fantastic," for me to become a believer in that Honda. So
no, I
I'm
agree.
very skeptical.
Like a lot of the pundits were saying that Honda can make a good engine. They just needed the time, but F1 is too quick. Like the pace in F1, the development pace is too fast. Where, like, I'm not an insider to Honda, but like everything I kept reading was like Honda's capable. They just need to not be under the pump and pressured so much to get something out so fast. So
And that's what they would have had last year with Toro Rosso, where it was probably a lot calmer for them coming from McLaren. Now they're back in the, a major team in Red Bull, and comes back to what I was saying with the Renault and the packaging. So Adrian Newey's going to be pushing the hell out of that Honda, probably 50% more than what Toro Rosso ever pushed it last year. So
possibly.
And obviously we're going to be stretching the boundaries again. So
I'm
holding high hopes that Renault are probably going to take that third position away from Red Bull.
Well, we could even get to the point again where, like, I know there's no works Honda team, but like you've got, say, the Toro Rossos who aren't using those increased power modes, and Red Bull who are, and Red Bull cars blowing up, and the Toro Rossos making it to the end of the race, sort of thing. Where, at the end of the year, same thing with Renault last year, where the Renaults in the Red Bulls weren't making it, but the Renaults in the Renault were. So,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a really, really intriguing one to keep an eye on as well. So
there's just so many people out there who just think that the Honda is in the Red Bull now. Red Bull's the third fastest car out there, so they're just going to continue on their merry way and be a clear-cut third. I don't know. I need to be convinced.
Yeah, I'm not convinced either. I'm with you on that. So
for me, what this Honda move to Red Bull has done is actually made the midfield even more interesting than what it was last year, because I feel like Red Bull are well and truly in the midfield now.
Right.
With probably Renault fighting at the top there, and Haas and Sauber nipping at their butts. And then you've probably got McLaren at the bottom of the midfield.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll definitely know in a few days where it sits under race conditions.
And Williams just in their own field in the paddock somewhere.
They just give them a separate championship table as well, so they can feel a little bit better about themselves.
I really don't even like making all these Williams jokes. I really wish somehow they came out and just surprised us on Saturday.
I hope they do, but they couldn't turn up to testing. That's a pretty bad start.
Yeah, 2 days lost already on an 8-day testing program.
Yeah, and it's not like
it's just unforgivable.
It's not like they were all texted the secret location a week before. They all knew when it was coming. So, that's Red Bull. We've got let's do Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel and the protege Charles Leclerc.
Leclerc,
the Monegasque driver, now driving up for his dream team of Ferrari after only 1 year in the Alfa Romeo. So it's a dream come true.
It's a definite rise to riches there story, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this isn't going to shock you as much as it probably did last night when I asked it, but I had a thought, for those out there listening, I had a thought that maybe because Charles Leclerc was the godson of Jules Bianchi, and I mean zero disrespect when I say this, but I think maybe did that influence Ferrari's decision to take him on for 2019? I don't think you really thought about that or even considered it.
No, I didn't, and I still am. Yeah, I don't know if that would have any bearing on the decision. As I said to you, I felt like, I feel like Marchione was the man behind the scenes, with his puppet, so to speak, over Benny as the front man.
Yeah.
And things just really turned upside down at Ferrari when Marchione passed away suddenly, and next minute, Benny's gone. we've got the technical director now leading the team. What's his name? Benito.
Yep.
We've got the second youngest driver that Ferrari has ever signed in history there now. So they've really shaken things up. And it's going to be very interesting to see how all this affects Vettel. I can see it going both ways. On the one hand, I can see all of the attention being on Leclerc, all the Italian media, all the fuss all over him, which could possibly work in Vettel's favour, where he can just go about and do his thing. Or on the other hand, we've seen what happened when Ricciardo had it over Vettel in Red Bull. So
yeah,
he's known to be able to fall apart quickly too.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, I think if Leclerc comes out and out-qualifies Vettel in Melbourne, or at any Grand Prix this
Imagine
year,
Leclerc
it's really going
on
to
pole.
shake him up.
Imagine Leclerc on pole in Australia, debut in the Ferrari.
That would, oh my God, that'd, I don't, like, you can't write that in you just can't.
What tone does that set for the rest of the season in Vettel's head?
Oh man, journalists will be going nuts about everything. Yeah, like what do Ferrari do to calm Vettel down if that was to happen? Is there anything they can do?
Well, they've said already that Vettel will be the number one driver, have they not? They've actually come out and said that.
I don't know. I haven't read it, but I just think it's just one of those things, like he is the number one. And like I think Leclerc I've definitely heard Leclerc say that he's the number two. So whether or not Vettel's come out and said I am the number one, Leclerc's definitely said he's the number two. So
look, I think within the races, Leclerc is probably going to play second fiddle to Vettel, at the very least, probably for the first third of the season, possibly the first half of the season. And but if Vettel's shooting himself in the foot, and then come halfway, if they're neck and neck, it will make a very interesting second half of the season within that team.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
and I've got to say,
yeah.
Sorry, if Leclerc ends up pulling the number on Vettel, where does Vettel go? Is he out of F1 after that?
I don't know. Yeah, there's nowhere else to go. When you're in Ferrari, where do you go? I don't think it'll happen.
No.
I just don't think it'll happen. But I think Leclerc will definitely. I think he'll be able to stick with Vettel. He's definitely shown he's got the pace because he did it in an underpowered car last year and he got results. So the kid's got the talent and he's got the skill. He just needs to execute it on Sunday. That's it.
He's just got to not let it get to his head.
Yeah, and I don't know. After hearing him on the documentary, he seems like a pretty level-headed guy. He's gone through a lot of adversity at such a young age, like how when he had his father die and he was racing 48 hours later, back, and then he was coming last and he still fought through the field and won the race. So
maybe we should have given a bit of a spoiler alert with this Netflix series for people who haven't watched it.
Well, I don't think we're giving away too much because the season's already happened. Everyone knows.
And it's not really like an actual TV show where we're building up to a climax, is it? It's just it's just the behind the scenes look. So we're not really giving anything away.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's like a documentary. It's all known sort of things. You just get to see a little bit more, like you said, behind the scenes and just more intimate with the drivers, so to speak. So,
and I actually like that it's not just the season wrap. Like they haven't just started in Australia and then just gone right through the season. Do you know what I mean? Like they've just kind of jumped all over it. They're focused on a team or a driver or a team boss and kind of like made the episode around that. I think the way they've done it is just really well done. I'm very impressed with it.
No, so am I. That's why I can't wait for the next one. So anyway, that's Vettel. Vettel, I think, is also probably going to do really well in Melbourne. But the last but not least is the Silver Arrows team, the Mercedes team. unchanged again with Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, but it's I think Bottas this year, he needs to get his elbows out and needs to be a little bit more aggressive.
He really does. I
Because
mean,
he's not going to win a world championship unless he does.
this really has to. I think it must be his do or die season because there's Ocon waiting in the wings now.
Yep. And Ocon's got ability.
And he's got youth on his side. I mean, how old is Bottas? He's not a spring chicken anymore.
No, yeah, he'd be in his 30s as well. Oh no, he was born in 89, so he's as old as me. So he's 30. He's 30 in August. So he's 29 at the moment.
Well, if he fails this year, again, where does he go? Back to Williams? Or would he prefer to go and race Indy cars or Formula E?
I think
The scrapyard of used up Formula One drivers.
It'd really depend where, like this. I don't think there'll be many, if any, free seats at the end of this season for Bottas to fall back into. I mean, like, maybe Haas, there might be something opening up there, but, like, there's so many new signings and new faces this season, I just don't see it happening. If it is his last season, he'll probably be off to something like DTM or Formula E. Probably one of those two, I'd say.
If he starts failing miserably, can you see them replacing him mid-season with Ocon?
I don't know if Mercedes would do that.
They're too level-headed for that, I think.
Yeah, like I don't think. Yeah, I just don't think they'll be that rash. You know, just last-minute decision. That's it. We've got to get rid of Bottas because they've put a lot of money into him and trust and like but Bottas for the team, he can still help Lewis Hamilton during the races and he can do that. So I don't think they'd get rid of him, but they'd definitely exploit his position on track to help Hamilton win more races if it was required.
Well, remember the highs that he came into the Mercedes drive from Williams? He was killing it at Williams at the time. He was out driving that car, and he arrived in Mercedes. And for me, all Bottas has done since he's arrived at Mercedes, he's proved just how good Nico Rosberg really was.
Because Rosberg was able to beat and match Hamilton more often than not, wasn't he? Those two
nearly every weekend. Like he pushed Lewis to the max.
Yeah, exactly. And Bottas rarely did that last season, didn't he? Like he was.
Did he ever?
I don't know. Like maybe Baku, however you want to say it.
No. Did he though? That was a crazy race.
Oh, but I'm just talking about the weekend leading up. Like he still had to get in front of him in qualifying. But yeah, it's a one race out of 20, you know, where Hamilton can do it for the entire season. So yeah, I think I probably have to say the same thing. If Bottas can't,
he's got a lot to prove. Put it that way.
Yeah, he does. If he can't put the pressure on Hamilton this year, it's going to be questionable whether he stays at the end of the season or not. So he needs to get some good results, and he needs to be on the podium more often than not this year. So
okay, we'll just leave that one there.
Fair enough. You sure you don't want to add to it?
No.
Trigger warning again?
No. It's just all been said. I mean, what more can we say? I'm just hanging for the season to get going so we can actually start answering a lot of these questions.
Yeah. This is all speculation, all of it. Well,
this season, 2019, I can tell you, is, for me, one of the most anticipated seasons in a long time. Just with all these driver changes.
There are so many.
There's just so many stories, so many questions just waiting to be answered.
So many unknowns.
That's right.
Like, the engines, the drivers, the results, the regulation changes, whether or not we care about fastest lap now. All that stuff. and it's
Do
only
you
a
care
day
about
away.
the fastest lap? What do you think about this 1 point for fastest lap?
Well, I've seen it. I've seen it happen in Formula E, and I've seen it in other racing categories, and they had to pull it back a little bit and regulate it a little bit because teams were starting to play it. Because what was happening was teams that were pretty much out of the race, instead of continuing on and trying to maybe get a point for after climbing their way back through the field, they go in, they put the quick tyres on, get a front nose change or whatever they need to if that's what happened, put the quickest lap in and park the car, and that's it. And it's just, I don't know, like I don't think it's going to affect the championship too much, but I just think it's pointless.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I just realised what I said. But like, yeah, I think it's just a knee-jerk reaction to something because it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was just about to ask you. Knee-jerk reaction to what? Who's been touting for this? I haven't...
That's what I mean. Like, I don't know. I really don't know.
First I heard of it was last week when they said something about Formula One are thinking about it, and a week later I heard it's implemented. And I'm like, what?
I know,
Jeez.
it's bizarre. But I'm pretty sure they've limited it to the top 10 anyway.
Which
So,
I'm not sure I like.
well, that's what I'm talking about. Like, if you're a bottom team, crash on the first lap, you go in, put the new tyres on and get a point. And then you're out of the race instead of trying to fight your way back. Or, like, teams find ways to exploit it,
In some ways, I don't actually mind that scenario. I feel like if you're going to give 1 point for the fastest lap, that's what it should be. It should just be 1 point for the fastest lap in that Grand Prix, regardless of what position you're in. Because in Formula One, we obviously give points to the top 10.
Yeah.
You're not going to really see someone running fifth or fourth, 4 seconds ahead of the guy behind them, pitting in just to get an extra point on a fastest lap. That's just obviously...
No, it'll never happen. Never happen.
But then now, sometimes boring races happen where there's not too much action. And then you've got guys running in 14th, 15th, 16th. What's wrong with a couple of them coming in with like 6 or 7 laps to go? If Grosjean sees, say, Sainz going in and he thinks, okay, well, I'm going to have a go at this too. So then you've got a few guys out there running quali laps now to try to get that fastest lap.
Because what they do, the problem I have with it is, if they're running 14th, 15th, 16th, whatever, last even, let's say there's 20 laps to go, they come in, get the quick tyres on, put that fastest lap in, and retire the car. So, like, because obviously then that has, like, they've saved their engine, they've saved their gearbox, and it just starts, like, it just affects so much more than just that race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So teams, and then we just get teams that are just like, we're just going to go for the point today, and that's it, and we're not going to race. I've seen it happen.
Thought about it enough yet?
Hey?
But I haven't really thought about it enough yet, like how it's going to impact anything.
Right.
But when you think about like that year when Massa lost the championship to Lewis Hamilton in 2008, I think I've heard that that's the only year that it would have affected the championship because he had 2 more fastest laps than Lewis Hamilton in that year. So he actually would have been world champion.
Yeah.
But now in this current age of Formula One, what if Leclerc is running, let's say, 5th? Lewis Hamilton has got the fastest lap and he's winning the race. Does Ferrari say, listen, Charles, we need you to come in to get that 1 point away from Lewis?
I don't... Well, if he's going to pit and going to lose track position, then no.
But if they're back on this mindset of racing for one car being Vettel, and it's 1 extra point that Lewis has got on Vettel, so let's get that away from him by bringing Leclerc in to get that 1 point off Hamilton.
But then it stops the racing up the front, you see. Like, there's so much more that goes on, I think.
That's what I'm trying to say. I haven't really thought this through completely yet, but yeah, I don't like it. It's just
sounds
a
like a good
gimmick
idea
that we didn't need.
Yeah, like you said, it's a knee-jerk reaction to what? Like, there wasn't an issue here. And
there's so many other things we could be fixing and implementing.
Exactly.
I would have preferred them to just give 1 point for pole position instead of fastest lap.
Well, they could give the extra point on the qualifying day instead of the race day. Do it on a day where like outright pace is like where it matters most. It doesn't
But then
matter.
realistically, all you're doing is you're giving an extra point to Ferrari or Mercedes.
Well, that again, that's true. But then again, the debate is why even have this rule at all?
That's basically what I'm coming back to. Is like, why have we introduced this?
I don't know. Maybe the listener can tell us. I don't know. Maybe you're sitting there with your headphones in, and you're screaming at us. Let us know. There'll be a way to get in contact with us. We'll have to give you the Discord link.
We're going to have to put the links in the show notes or something once we've finalised it all. And as we go, then we'll be getting the questions and etc. from our listeners, and we'll answer them in the podcast.
Yeah, so we'll do that, and then we'll go over. There's a fantasy league code as well too, so get involved with that if you've got a team. We'll have to share that in the description. But we should quickly go over the Melbourne Grand Prix because it is only 1 day, 13 hours away according to the clock. So we haven't got long to go, and it's first Grand Prix of 2019, the Australian Opener at Albert Park. We're actually going to have a few guys down there as well, so we should be able to get some feedback from how everything's going on in the circuit, because we're going to do a special, what do you call it, a qualicast?
A
qualicast. Gonna, do a pre-show, me and the doctor, and then we're going to give you the qualifying commentary, and you can sit there and all chat and whatever you do, and I'll get probably the doctor to read most of the chat, and I can just sit there and chat away. But it should be exciting. I mean, Melbourne does have exciting races every now and then. Last year wasn't the case, but like you always see after a Grand Prix, should Melbourne be taken off the calendar? But I think that's just, I don't know, that's just clickbait, isn't it?
All of these changes that have been implemented this year was a direct result of all the discussions had directly after the Melbourne Grand Prix last year.
Exactly. So, I mean, I guess we're expecting to have a better race because of it, because like they've said that they can follow behind each other a little bit better because of, was the front wing regulations. They dumbed down how intricate everything could be, and to settle the dirty air that's produced. So maybe we'll get a bit more overtaking.
I'm a little bit concerned that maybe DRS is going to be too powerful and we're just going to have cars flying past down the straight, where even though they introduced DRS to, improve racing, but is it? If they're just zipping past each other so easily, like down the straight, you just follow a car, get to the straight, hit the DRS button, thank you, see you later, keep going.
Well, then you'd think that maybe then the next lap, the car behind is now got DRS and they can do the same thing back again. I don't necessarily hate DRS. I think not like you do, but I see your point. I definitely see your point.
To me, it just always seems like it's almost like a fake pass. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're always talking about improving the racing, the spectacle, and to me, what it does at a lot of tracks, it actually nullifies the racing in the sense that drivers aren't going for some of the more risky moves that they might have to if they didn't have DRS, whereas they'll just sit behind the car, make sure that they're 1 second behind the car in front from that DRS detection zone, get to the straight, hit the button, and then go for a late dive. Like, basically, that's 90% of the passes these days.
Well, they've also got the power from the MG UK as well. That's like that's like a bit of a turbo boost as well. So,
and I believe this year they're doing manual control on that, which should actually add another strategic element to it.
Yeah, so there's a lot for the drivers to deal with, especially around a street circuit because it's not very wide, and it's pretty technical. It's a downforce track for sure.
It's a great track to drive.
It's I've never driven it, but I have walked around it.
I haven't driven it in real life. I'm just saying on Tim.
Oh right, I get you. Oh, it's one of those tracks I drive a lot because I usually start a season on F1 and I get a few races in and then I stop for a while and then I start a new one and I'm always doing Melbourne.
So you're a bit of an expert, are you?
I'd say so. I'm pretty good at it. But I think it's a good little track.
It's very technical.
And it's just the traditional season opener. So, and what a better place to have it than Australia?
The only way it could be better is if they made it in Sydney.
Oh, don't know about that. Maybe Brisbane. Well, we should get our predictions in. So we're going to do the top 5 for the Melbourne Grand Prix. Now, I've actually written down what we did last night in case you've forgotten. I don't know if you did or not.
No, I'm taking notes of our predictions. So when I dish out the points at the end of the year, I can tell you how much I've beaten you by.
Ah, I see. So I picked Vettel to take the top spot after race number 1. I think the Ferrari's got the power.
For pole, you had Vettel as well, yeah?
I didn't pick qualifying, but just at the end of the race, I just picked Vettel.
Okay. I picked Kubica to win. Okay, no, I didn't. I've got Vettel as well to win. I think he's going to hit the ground running.
He did.
I reckon he's been itching for this race even before the end of last season. Once Lewis sealed the title, I reckon Vettel was zoned in on Australia.
Yeah, I think, like you said, this is the race he's been practicing for, training for.
He would have just been hoping and praying that car came out of the box perfect, and it just seems like it has.
Vettel for the first one there. I think I've picked Hamilton to come second, only because I don't know who else would come second. I don't know if Hamilton's got a good history at Melbourne, but so that's why I don't think he'll win. But yeah, definitely up there on the podium. So second for me.
I've got Bottas running second. Bit of redemption from last year when he threw it away in quali.
That's right. He binned it at turn number 1, didn't he?
That's right.
So he's got something to prove in 2019. For third, I've picked Bottas myself. So I just think Hamilton will be able to... I don't know, because like we were talking about before, I just think Hamilton will just edge him out on Sunday.
I haven't got Hamilton even in third. I think he's going to have a bit of trouble. That's what I'm predicting. He's going to, have a bit of trouble. Maybe have a bit of a run-in with Leclerc. Leclerc.
On the end.
Yes. Mr. Fiat.
I guarantee you that's how you say it. Fiat.
Okay. I stand to be corrected.
No, I can't wait.
Well, for third, I've got my big, bold prediction of a yellow Renault on the podium with Ricciardo.
Black and yellow. Yeah, Ricciardo for you.
How awesome will that be?
Oh, so it needs to happen.
It's more hope than a prediction, but hey, I'm doing it.
It's home race. I don't like an Australian third at the home Grand Prix. Has that ever happened before?
Well, there was that one year when Ricciardo was on the podium, but he got disqualified.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so, redemption for Ricciardo for the dock in 2019. Fourth, I've put Verstappen from Red Bull. So the Red Bull's making its first appearance down in fourth there.
So you're predicting a nice smooth run for Honda, eh?
Yeah, it's something I like. It's an unknown, but there's nothing else to go off but last year's performance. So
exactly,
that's just my safe bet. So that's why I've picked Verstappen there. But I'm probably going to be proven, and I hope I am proven wrong because I just hope I just hope it's just a crazy grid at the end of the race. Like, we're just like a new era of F1. You know, Renault's up there, Force India's up there, Williams somehow make a comeback, and yeah, I'd love to see 20 cars being able to fight for the first, but
No.
yeah, I don't think it will happen. So Verstappen is my pick.
There's this particular, like the first round is probably the real stab in the dark with predictions. Like there's nothing to really go on. And I know nothing's guaranteed, but other than probably a Ferrari or Mercedes winning, the rest is really just a stab in the dark, I think.
Yeah, it really is. We just don't know.
Which is why I've thrown Ricciardo in there, and just what an awesome debut that will be in the Renault team.
And then for fourth, you put
Hamilton with a recovery drive into fourth,
so
beating out Magnussen for fifth.
What, does he have an incident from the start? Does he have an issue in qualifying?
Oh, geez, now you want me to predict it lap by lap?
No, but like, what, is he just not having a good day? Is that why?
Yeah, I'm thinking he's just not having a smooth start to the season, and a possible coming together with the young Madagascan Leclerc.
The Monegasque.
Monegasque, sorry,
Madagascar. That's where the animals all come from. That movie.
Oh, it's late, man.
It is late. My bad. And I've last but not least, in fifth position, Leclerc. Yeah,
and
I don't like. I think he's got a quick car, but I just think the experience the other guys have will just squeeze him out in race one. But definitely up there in the top 5 by the end of Sunday for sure.
I just want the race to start, man.
Oh, who doesn't? I actually can't. I don't even know who you picked for fifth.
I just said to you, I've got Magnussen.
Oh, you do? Oh, I did. I wrote Mag.
Yeah, I think the Haas. Let's not forget how strong they were here last year until they had the tyre failures on both the cars.
Yeah, well, I think they were running, 4th and 5th?
Not even a tyre failure, actually. It was a pit failure.
Yeah, cross-threading on the pit stops.
So, and I think now with another season under their belt, I don't know if it's the Netflix series that's kind of like influencing me here, but it just seems like they've got a bit of a quiet confidence about them.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, the good thing about the series is it sort of reminds you of things that happened early on, because you sort of tend to brush over that and just remember the last few Grand Prix, which is probably why my top 5 look the way they do. But you are right. Haas were on for some strong points in race 1 last year, for sure.
They've still got the Ferrari engine, so if they've just come a bit more in their development, I mean, I think their biggest problem is maybe they can't keep up with the development like the big teams. So this is probably their biggest chance, these first few races, to just bag some big points.
Well, I hope you're right. I think
the same goes for Alpha as well.
Yeah, definitely. I hope you're right, because that's going to make it really fun to watch. So, anyway, that's the top 5. I think for the first episode, I think that should about wrap it all up. If not, I'm not sure everyone, if you're listening, getting a little bit tired now, but you'd be itching for the Grand Prix now. We're not too far away. But yeah, the plan is after every Grand Prix on the Thursday, we'll have a new Lights Out F1 podcast for you to sink your ears into.
Which will quickly review the race that was done and finish up with a preview of the race to come.
We will, and we'll be able to, like, this one went so long because we had so many things to go over, but we'll definitely be mentioning the eSports a lot more, because the Friday Night League, which Oars runs, it's sometimes better than the real racing sometimes. Just the excitement levels and how close everything gets, and like there's some really talented drivers in the league. Like it really is. It's fantastic racing.
You just got to catch the stream on Josh's page on Demo One Garage or on the FNL1 eSports page. It's always live streamed with our mate Josh here commentating on it. So
yep, it's was it 8th 8:30 p.m. Queensland time on a Friday night, or 9:30 p.m. For daylight savings on the East Coast. So
9:45 is when we get going.
so,
Yes.
yeah, you're right, 9:45. And have you changed the It's one-shot quali or like a timed qualifying?
No, it's a short quali, which is like generally depending on the length of the track, it's between 16 to 20 minutes.
Oh, does it depend on the length? Does it?
Yeah. So basically, it gives you 3 runs. You get to have 3 runs in the short quali, like if you hook it up.
Right. And
then we go into a 50% race.
So, yeah, we're not going to have one this weekend because the Grand Prix is on, because it's Grand Prix weekend, and we're all going to be busy watching it. So
Correct. So our next race will be next Friday night and in Russia.
In Russia. So who's the championship leader? It's Zen?
Yes. He won the race ahead of Yayo last week. And the Ming man in the Renault was 3rd. So hopefully Ricciardo will take note and do the same on Sunday.
He will. Well, yeah, that's... Yeah, and again, if you've missed any of it, you can go back to a lot of the old season stuff, unfortunately, isn't on the Friday Night League page, but make sure you search FNL1 eSports and like that page. But if you want to see the older stuff, if you head to Demo 1 Garage on either Facebook or YouTube, some of it's on YouTube, but all of it's on our Facebook page, and you can watch the last races. We did have a few problems early on with connections and stuff, which we've all had a few teething problems, unfortunately. But Hungary, I think, would definitely be the one to go watch. I think that's probably your pick of last season, Doc.
And the Spa would have been awesome too, but that's the one where we got cut off halfway.
Unfortunately, we got cut off. It was looking good. I didn't even get to see it, but yeah, every Friday it'll be on. It's streamed on both Facebook and YouTube at the same time, so you can pick your favorite platform for that.
If you don't catch it live, you can always catch the replay. It's always there. So.
Certainly can. Well,
and
I think
if you've got a fantasy league, we'll put the links at the bottom of the show notes so that you can just jump into the FNL1 eSports Fantasy League. We've got about 20 guys or so signed up at the moment, so a bit of fun and banter through the season.
Yeah, and I've actually just put out the word on the Demo 1 Garage side, so hopefully we get a few more. So I know there was 40 in my league last year, so I've joined forces with Friday Night League, so I'm just sending you all to his. So expect a lot more Australians this year, because we're all pretty much Aussies. They're all pretty much Aussies over FNL, but I think we've been babbling on long enough.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up there, and we'll see you on Saturday for the Qualicast.
Yeah, the Qualicast. It'll be half an hour before the quali is due to start.
We've got a few guys on the ground we might cross over to, and technology allowing.
Yeah, hopefully. Probably technical difficulties all around, but that's just the life of a live streamer, unfortunately. Well, anyway, thank you for tuning in. Let us know what you think. Comments. I don't know where this is going to be posted. We're going to figure that out later. But you can always get in contact with us through the Discord.
It'll be on the interwebs.
It will be. It's on the internet somewhere. But yeah, again, thanks for listening in. Thanks for making it this far. Hopefully, Sunday's a fantastic race. And the Doc and I will see everybody in 2 weeks. No, it'll be a week's time. So catch us all then.
See you all later. I promise we'll get better.
We promise. All right.